Hello, folks. This is your ticker guy coming at you from an undisclosed location. We're going to talk about Syria. We're going to start with the AP, who appears to have run a video claiming it was the Syrian Kurds being attacked by the Turks, when in fact it looks an awful lot like where that footage came from was the Knob Creek machine gun shoot right here in America at night, which they do every year, by the way, and which is a perfectly legal and legitimate thing for people who wish to participate to go do. They have a nighttime shoot. They put some propane tanks and some other interesting stuff out there on the range. It's all very safe. It's a long way away. People open up on it. There's an awful lot of fire going out there. Some people bring tracers so you can actually see the bullets flying out there, and then, of course, the explosions and the fires and things like this. It is a completely controlled, contrived thing. It's all done for fun. People spend an awful lot of money to go out there because shooting machine guns is expensive. The ammunition is not cheap. And in fact, the larger the caliber, the worse it gets, and it gets worse fast. All right, so, and these are legally owned machine guns, incidentally. Otherwise, BATFE would be out there in 10 seconds. So, anyway, it looks like AP grafted this onto a supposed news report and claimed that, oh, those terrible Turks, oh my gosh, I will tell you, yeah. And Erdogan, oh, he's such an evil bastard. That's Turkey's leader, of course. Folks, think about what Trump has really done. And let's ask, is this AP thing, before I go on to the Trump thing, is this AP thing, is this just them because they hate Trump? Or is there a little CIA game going on here where, oh, man, we have to go back in there. We have to have our, yeah. Think about, I got into it with a guy last night in a bar. He brought up politics. Always a foolish thing to do in a bar, but he did that. And so we had a little conversation about foreign policy. And he's one of the people that's gone play in the sand a little bit, and was trying to make the point that, well, we really have to maintain, some order of control of this or that. And I looked at him and I said, look, we haven't fought a war to win since World War II. We have not done it. If we are so great, we spend $750 billion a year on fighting wars, on having material and such like this and paying people and all this. If we're going to actually have a war, let's declare a war, let's go over there, let's kick their ass and go home. He thought, by the way, that it was perfectly fine that we let all of those Iraqi fighters leave after the first Gulf invasion, which, by the way, as I pointed out to him, was perfectly legitimate. Kuwait was invaded. There might have been some skullduggery on why Saddam thought he could get away with it, but the fact of the matter is he did it. We went and we kicked his ass, and then we walked away, which we should not have done. Why? Because when you go do something like that, when you invade somebody else's territory and you lose, you're supposed to really, really lose. There has to be a penalty. What is the point of having a criminal code if there's no penalty when you screw the pooch? Well, guess what? We haven't imposed that either now, have we? Oh, no, we'll just withdraw. But now let's talk about what Trump has done to everybody in the world with leaving Syria and walking away from the Middle East, because it's genius. Folks, I don't like the Donald, okay? Orange man bad, not because Orange man bad. Orange man bad when he does stupid things because they're stupid. But in this case, it's genius. It's really genius. Think about what he said to everybody over there. Okay, so there's some ISIS dudes that were in jail over there, right? And some of them have broken out, and now, everybody's worried ISIS is going to be rebuilt. Really? ISIS is going to be rebuilt. Who's responsible for it if it happens? Well, that'd be Turkey, right? It'd be Syria. So now you got Assad, you got Turkey, you got Iran, who all of a sudden is responsible. You got Lebanon that's involved. You got the Soviets, well, Russians. We don't call them Soviets anymore. I'm sorry about that. Excuse me, Putin. You got the Russians. And you have everybody else over there, along with the EU, that's wringing its hands because they, along with China, want oil out of the Middle East. We're energy independent, folks. We really can be right now if we want to be. I saw another article this weekend that all the people in the Permian are screaming about not being able to hire illegal invaders. Excuse me? Wait, pay a little bit more. Put some ads in the paper up there in around Detroit and in Michigan and Ohio. How about Lordstown, Ohio? I seem to think that there's a plant there that used to make cars that's been shut down by GM and there's a bunch of people who are getting thrown out of work. Do you think they could drive a truck on an oil field? Do you think they could help lay pipe? Oh, I bet they could. They might need a little training, but you know what? Yeah, not really much more training than you have to give an illegal invader Mexican, right? No. And you say, well, Americans won't do this. They sure as hell will if you pay them well enough. And if you've got equipment laying around that can make you, $500,000, $700,000 a month, I'm quite sure that you could pay them. You just don't want to. But what have we done here? We've thrown this entire thing in the world's hands, all those people over there, all the different interests over there, and have said, you know what? If ISIS shows back up and starts causing problems, it's your issue. You want us to come kick their butts? Sorry, no, you do it. You don't want terrorism on your land? Well, gee, maybe you ought to go over there and kill them all. Make them sue for peace. Why is it our job? They're not coming over here. There's this thing called an ocean in the way. And by the way, if they do come over here, we'll figure out where they came from and we'll go wax them. All of them. But, this goes back to what I've said before. Foreign policy, when it comes from my standpoint, very simple principle. You do not touch American soil. You do not touch Americans. We don't care what you do and who you want to fight between and all that other nonsense. You go ahead and you have fun. Now, you do any of those other things, we're going to wax you. And we're going to make sure it really, really hurts. But until then, not our problem. You know what? These guys have hated each other for thousands of years. You can find stories about this stuff in the Bible, for crying out loud. And then you got, around 1000, from about 1000 AD forward, you had the whole Mohammedan thing goes on, right? Once that all starts up, then you got these conflicts, and they've been going on literally forever. And they're not going to end either. What are we doing in Afghanistan? Why do we care about Afghanistan? Right in that general sort of vicinity, you got India and Pakistan. They hate each other with a white-hot passion, and they both have nukes. Might they cook a few off? Yeah, it'd be a disaster if they did. But who here is saying that we ought to go into India and Pakistan and pacify both of those? Oh, no. Well, probably because that's impossible, right? Well, guess what? Afghanistan's ungovernable. The Russians tried it. They got their ass kicked. Now, we did help. We handed out a few stingers here and there. But the Russians got their ass kicked, and we went over there. We've been getting our ass kicked. And guess what? We got the same thing going on in the Middle East. If Saudi Arabia has this hard-on for being able to deliver their oil, and Iran has this hard-on for being able to deliver their oil, and the UAE and Qatar and all these other places, you know what? Let them provide their own damn security, along with Israel. Yeah, I get it. Everybody hates everybody over there. Fine. You know what? They want to have terrorists. Hey, they stay over there in the Middle East. I really don't give a wet crap. We don't need their oil anymore. And it's about time Americans came home. As far as AP and their fake news, somebody ought to destroy them for that. Of course, it won't happen because, they won't be held accountable. But they shouldn't be able to publish anything about anybody ever again, period, end of discussion. That was intentional fakery. And as far as the Donald and withdrawing from Syria, good. Get our people out of there, bring them home. Do it all over the Middle East and bring them all home from Afghanistan as well. Everyone says, oh, well, but then Putin will expand his influence. Well, guess what? If the people of Europe want to have themselves beholden to Russian natural gas coming through pipelines that Putin can turn the tap on anytime he wants, let them. If they want to do something a little more intelligent, like build some rewarming plants, and then we could export some gas over there in LNG tankers, if it became necessary, well, that's fine. But you know what? If I want backup power in my house, I buy a generator. And I may not use that generator for a very long time, if ever. But if the power goes off, I can turn it on. Same thing here. Build those natural gas warming plants, the terminal facilities to be able to take them. If you never actually need to use them, well, fine. But there's your counter to Putin saying, I'm going to crank this gas off because it's the middle of December. Come on, guys, wake up. We shouldn't be over there. We never should have been over there. We don't have a clean exit. We don't have a clean strategy. And it's time for us to acknowledge that for once, the guy that claims to be the best negotiator in the world actually did something intelligent. Give the man credit where it's due. I'm your ticker guy, and that's my view.